Howdy everyone, welcome back to another Reading the Bible cover to cover. It is what day is it? Day 34 of Reading the Bible. Sorry for the fan in the background. It is sweltering here, but today we are reading Leviticus 11:9 to 13:39, which is pretty cool. My first points are in 11:13. This is kind of talking about what is clean and what is unclean, addressing lepers, addressing a few other things here and there. But what's interesting when talking about the birds is that pretty much all the unclean birds are predators and carrion eaters, so they drink blood or eat carcasses and stuff like that. So we see this kind of awesome consistency in that regards throughout the scriptures. Another interesting point, it also includes bats, which are very, very well known for disease transmission. I was reading an article the other day talking about how bats have pretty much evolved to carry diseases, which I find really interesting, especially since as the bats are being blamed for the coronavirus outbreak in China right now. So that's quite interesting there. We've also got 11:44. Oh, I was looking forwards to this verse. I'm not gonna lie, because it's one of probably, I would say, the most frequent verse I use in the Old Testament, from the Old Testament, for street evangelism. For I am the Lord your God, consecrate yourselves therefore and be holy, for I am holy. And of course it's talking about cleanliness, but we translate it on the street as usage for, in a sense, how do I say this? In a sense, the standard that God demands of his people, which is perfection to the standard of God's own holiness. This is kind of repeated in Matthew 5:48 at the Sermon on the Mount, talking about perfection and being that standard and stuff like that. Of course, since we've all sinned, we've all fallen short, and that's why we need Jesus. But it is especially a great verse for Muslim and Islamic conversations. I mean, any kind of whack cult religion that affirms the Bible but affirms works to get into heaven, so your Catholics, any kind of anything, it is grateful. Another interesting point, because I was watching a sermon today on Sola Scriptura, that God appeals to his own authority in this sense, for I am the Lord your God, and then he makes his statement, and that's it. That's it. There's, yeah, he does give an example, for I am the Lord your God, who brought you up out of the land of Egypt to be your God. You shall therefore be holy, for I am holy. So yeah, that's pretty epic right there. Oh, of course we talk about the purification after childbirth. This is interesting. I found quite interesting, because a woman who has given blood is considered unclean because of the blood loss, which, as any female knows, there's a lot of hemorrhaging sometimes during childbirth, which kind of really sucks. And since blood is so highly revered, in a sense, almost being a representation of holiness, that is quite important to address. My final point is in 13:5. And the priest shall examine him on the 7th day, and if the disease has not spread in the skin, then the priest shall shut him up for another 7 days, which is, I found very interesting, as we were in the middle of the coronavirus outbreak, almost an early form of representation of quarantine. But these are kind of points for myself. So anyway, thanks for watching. Hope you have a great day.